if you could just grasp the power of innate intelligence.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
Hey,
man.
how's
Dylan.
it going, man?
Sorry, my thing says Christine Mawn. I'm on my wife's computer.
No
That's
worries.
All right.
All
That's
good.
all right. Glad to see you at least, man.
How are you doing?
Man, it's good to be here. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so are we. So are we.
We're fine.
Is everyone that's in able to turn, or anyone that is on, are you able to turn your camera on? I would love to see faces.
Est-ce que vous pouvez mettre vos caméras, s'il vous plaît? Little translation. Ça serait cool si vous mettez vos caméras, comme ça, Dr. Dylan, il peut vous voir. Et c'est toujours mieux de parler des gens de face to face.
And then I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a drink of water.
Of course. Take your time.
Man, it's crazy. We've been following you for about like two and a half years.
Yeah?
You have finally the opportunity to have you on.
Dude, that's so cool to hear. Thank you.
It's really humbling in a way. And yeah, we're really excited to hear your talk right now. So it's going to be great.
I love talking to chiropractic philosophy. I'm actually pulling something up right now that I want to put in the chat for everyone.
Yes, feel free.
Okay, yeah, this right here. Copy. Where are we at? We're here. Let's see, how do I chat? This is going to go to everyone. Okay, so I just put a link in that links to the Chiropractic 33 principles. The way that I teach, I'm not going to go through this list one by one, but I understand that one of the biggest needs, one of the biggest value points for you guys is to get an introduction or a deepening into some of the chiropractic philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
You guys don't get too much of that at school.
Well, our school is quite evidence-based in a way,
Okay.
and the philosophy is taught in like a history point of view.
Okay.
We don't really do much in philosophy in our school.
Okay, cool. The beautiful part about the chiropractic philosophy is that it's not simply a philosophy that's like an idea or something that was like just back in history. What they're called are the 33 chiropractic principles. And for anything to be a principle in life, that means that it doesn't change. It means that no matter what the circumstance is, that principle is rock solid and it does not change. And so the value of getting yourself acquainted and understanding the chiropractic principle and the chiropractic philosophy is basically establishing a backbone for the why behind anything you do. And it also can help to establish the way that you do things, right? So first, let's kind of get into my story a little bit, because I have not met any of you guys, and I would just like to share a little bit with you guys about like who I am, where I'm from. For those of you that I can see on screen, am I talking at an okay pace? I don't know how good English is for you guys. Should I slow down a little bit, or are we okay?
We will, I think for the moment, everything is perfect. I can understand you perfectly.
Yeah, so
Dylan, if it's all right with you, would like to quickly talk about Sigma Dynamics, what we do, what our mission is. After that,
Absolutely.
I'd like to introduce you, if that's fine with you. And then
Please go for it.
We can keep going. I don't know if Dr. Lance is on his way or if he's already there.
Dr. Lance will be on his way. He's in transition right now, dropping his son off at school and moving over to the practice. So when he hops on, he's going to be no video at first, and then he'll hop on with video and we'll have him full blown.
100%. All right, perfect.
You can go ahead and kick it off.
all right.
Okay, so everybody, I'm gonna talk in English, so I'll speak nice and slowly. Okay. Normally we do this in French, but to make it go smooth and quickly, I'm gonna try it in English. So if everyone has a question, just put your hand up and I'll answer it. But Sigma Dynamics is a group that's been created 3 years ago by Leo and Rodrigo, two really motivated chiropractors that graduated like literally a couple of months ago. They started all of this. Their mission was to give chiropractors and chiropractic students the opportunity to find their own vision, their own way in chiropractic. Right now, we're a team of 8 members. We're really motivated, and we organize talks like this with chiropractors all over the world. We organize seminars, all the techniques, all the philosophy. So today we have another chance to listen to 2 inspiring chiropractors. Graduated at Life West in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Started training KTC in 2016 and is a facilitator today, co-owner of the Source Chiropractic, uses the art of chiropractic to unite the spiritual to the physical. I'd like to introduce to you all Dr. Dylan Moan.
Woo! It's like I said before, it's really, really great to be here. It was always a dream of mine to be able to teach chiropractic and the principle and the art and the philosophy and the science, all of it across the globe. And so this being an opportunity to connect with a lot of students out in France, truly, truly honored to be here and excited to share with you guys. Let's start with a little bit of who I am and kind of how I got here. I found chiropractic when my family found chiropractic. I was 15 years old. My dad was experiencing some low back pain. I grew up in what we call in America a blue collar home, which basically just means that my dad works with his hands. He does landscaping and lawn maintenance. So he cuts grass and designs, pretty floral stuff outside of people's yards. And so his whole life was working with his hands, right? And sometime in his 40s, started just having constant mid and low back pain. And my mom was tired of hearing him complain about it. And so she said, like, let's take you to the chiropractor. I hear that this guy does really good things. Let's try it out. He started seeing the chiropractor, and a month later, a lot of things started changing in his health. Because 9 months prior to going to the chiropractor, my dad was diagnosed diabetic, and they called it 1.5 diabetes. So not type 1, not type 2, it's a type 1.5. I had never heard of it before. It's becoming more popular now. It is kind of like late adult onset of autoimmune diabetes. And so it's kind of like the childhood diabetes, but it happens later in life. And so like he wasn't super overweight. He's still really active. He was actually losing weight all summer and really craving sugar. And when he went to the hospital, his eyesight started going. Went to the hospital, his blood sugar was at 450. Very, very, very high blood sugar. It took the endocrinologist and the doctor team about 6 months to get his insulin stable. And like I said, 9 months after this started, he started seeing the chiropractor. Okay. So we started seeing the chiropractor, back pain starts to get better. And by the end of the first month in care, he no longer needed to take the shots for insulin. It was mind blowing. It like our whole family was like, what is going on? 9 months prior, our life was turned upside down. We went from a family living a normal life to now dad has to carry around insulin shots, and we have to be careful about what we eat. And like going out to dinner was stressful and all this stuff. And here we are a month into care, and he doesn't need the shots anymore. That being said, he still needed the slow acting insulin. He still takes that at night. And so it's not like he had full remission, but he started to get his life back. And more importantly, he started to have hope, right? And the endocrinologist did not understand why his body was healing or how it was healing. And they discredited a lot of what was happening, but they asked him a simple question. What's different? What are you doing differently? And all he said was, I started seeing a chiropractor. The endocrinologist was like, that's unrelated. It must just be coincidence, this and that. Didn't really have a good explanation. Then comes in the chiropractor and we asked him, hey, this is what's happening in our life. What's going on? Can you help us understand this? And the chiropractor brought out the autonomic nervous system chart. You've all seen it. You got the spine and you got the nerves that are exiting the spine, and it goes to communicate with the body, right? And he explained to us this simple concept of the brain has to talk to the body and the body has to talk to the brain. And when there's no interference, the body knows how to heal. Quite literally, the number one thing that every human being is able to do is heal. You think about if you get a cut on your skin, or if you get a flu, or if you interact with the vid, what happens? You get some symptoms, maybe you're bleeding, the skin opens, you close it up, or maybe you don't, it closes itself up. You get a flu, and so you rest, you take some tea, you get some sunlight, you take your vitamins. But what does your body do? Your body adapts, it responds, it heals, it knows how to do this. And this chiropractor started to explain to me a new paradigm of health that at 15 years old, I had never heard of before. And this paradigm made perfect sense to me. The concept of this intelligent body that knows how to heal. And so at 15 years old, I decided I want to do that. This guy looked like he was having fun. He was fit. He was always happy. He helped a lot of people. He helped my dad. He helped my family. Just nothing but good vibes. And I was like, I want to be a chiropractor. And so I started looking into this thing called chiropractic. And I got lucky that my first chiropractor was a chiropractor that communicated the principle and the philosophy. And so from day one, I've only known chiropractic to be a healing modality that connects man the spiritual to man the physical, or chiropractic to be a healing modality that reconnects the central nervous system to the rest of the body, or a healing modality that removes stress and interference from the body, allowing the body to heal naturally. That's what I've always known chiropractic to be. What was fascinating for me was when I get into chiropractic school and I start hearing and seeing all these different perversions of chiropractic. And I don't say that with a judgment or a cutting tone. I am very glad to have multiple chiropractors that do multiple different things. Evidence-based chiropractors do great work. Principle-based chiropractors do great work. It happens to be a little bit different. Where I have a dissonance with is the turmoil within our profession of saying what is chiropractic, what isn't chiropractic, what is valid and what isn't valid. And Dr. Lance, I'm pumped that you just popped on. I'm just telling a little bit of my story, which you've heard dozens of times. But what I'm pumped about with this talk that Dr. Lance and I want to bring to you is this isn't a competition. It's not the good chiropractor versus the bad chiropractor. It's not the evidence-based versus the principle. It's understanding that there are facts and principles and ways of life that transcend any and everything. They are principles of life, principles of the human experience, principles of healing. And whether you want to be evidence-based or whether you want to be principled, it does not matter. You can still present a powerful amount of care that does follow evidence, because everything I do is backed by science and evidence. And I'm excited for how Dr. Lance will bring this in at the end, because he is the magician with words of how to see how big picture ideas affect us scientifically all the way down to the DNA level. What I want to inspire you guys with today is the recognition and the understanding of the bigness of what you do. And that's what the principle and that's what the philosophy helps us to understand. And when we're moving through our practices, when we're serving our people, and we can take the work that we do and the effort that we do and the adjustments that we facilitate, when we can take that and when we can make it bigger than releasing a joint, or bigger than correcting an atlas, or bigger than even just removing someone's back pain or headache, when you can make it bigger than that, when all of that can be your side effect, that's when people walk around you, when people come into your space and all they can say is, something's different about this doctor. I don't know what it is, but something's different. Everything makes sense. I'm feeling better and something's different. And what's different is you are anchored and rooted in to the principle of life and the principle of chiropractic. And so that text, for those of you that are hopping on, there's a text in the chat that has a link. That's a link to the 33 principles from IFCO. What I like about this list is it's a short, they're just one little statements. And you can read through this. And as you read through it, you can do this at another time. And as you read through it, you'll recognize that other than the first major premise, which is the only thing that we need to agree on, which I'm going to read it word for word, is that there's a universal intelligence in all matter that is continually giving it all of its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. This is talking now, what we know about it, it's talking about quantum physics. There's an energetic field that is creating and maintaining everything in life. That energetic field, when it's in a living being, whether it's an animal, a plant, a human being, we call innate intelligence, okay? There are trillions of cells, individual cells in your body right now. Millions of them are dying, millions of them are being reborn, and it's all happening without you having a single conscious thought to make it happen. What is that? It's intelligent. You can call it God, you can call it spirit, you can call it energy, you can call it magic. I don't care what you call it, but it's freaking smart. It's very intelligent because you have cells that come from stem cells and DNA that can create brain tissue and nervous system tissue, and then can create bone tissue, and then can create muscle tissue and skin tissue. And it all starts to happen inside of our mother's womb. And then we create this body, and then we come out into this life and we're growing. And no one has to teach you how to grow. No one has to teach you how to get those bone growth plates to close. No one has to teach you how to evolve. No one has to teach you how to heal. Your body is intelligently designed and it knows how to do this. Innate intelligence has one primary job inside the body and inside any living entity. Let's go to a tree, okay? Think of a tree growing around a power line. What does it do? It's growing up. Oh, there's a power line here. It grows around and then it grows back up. Intelligence, adaptation, it's even in the trees. Think about a body. What happens to human beings who sit 24/7? Well, it looks something like this. If I am sitting, I'm putting a stress on my body that is telling my body, hey, this is the position that you're going to spend most of your life. And for most people, it's more so like this, okay? You do this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, then what does our older population look like? Well, stand up out of the chair, you hold the cane instead of the mouse and the keyboard, and now you're walking around like this. All it is an adaptation that the intelligence that is your body is doing to the stressors you're putting on it. That's why a triathlete or a marathon runner looks nothing like a bodybuilder. They're both athletes, but they put different stressors on their body, and therefore their body creates a different body in response to those stressors, okay? So innate intelligence has one primary job. Innate intelligence is the universal intelligence within a living being, and it has one job, one overarching thing that it focuses on, and that is to survive. Innate intelligence is here, creating this body, putting all the trillions of cells together, creating this being you see before you, trying to adapt and survive to what is happening to me in my life. Now, when the body cannot fully adapt to a stressor, it has two options: die or store that information for later, okay? Because if innate intelligence has a stressor come in and it can't fully adapt, then that would mean if it can't fully adapt, it must not adapt, which is to begin the process of disease or death, right? What our intelligent human system has done is it's created a strategy, okay? This strategy is what we know as the subluxation. The subluxation is a strategy that your body creates whenever you cannot fully adapt from a stressor, so that you can store that information and kind of block it in place. What does stored energy or stored information look like? It often looks like tension or compression or the body guarding against something, right? Think about people that you know in your life that are very stressed out, or people, that you know in your life that have been injured and haven't fully healed from that injury. You'll start to see them create what we call maladaptations, which is an improper adaptation. Innate intelligence is still doing its job because it's keeping you alive, it's keeping you moving forward. But where the chiropractor comes in is we're able to identify where that pattern of dysfunction is within the body, and we're able to acknowledge it, we're able to see it, we're able to provide corrective communication, whether that's through an osseous adjustment, where there's a click and a pop and a releasing of a joint, or whether it's through an adjustment that helps to change and shift the soft tissue, or whether it's through a gentle, subtle communication of just placing your hand on someone's back and saying, hey, breathe right here, and allowing someone for the first time, maybe in years, to take a breath that reached all the way down to their tailbone. Because when you're in a stressful state and your body is not able to fully actualize itself, you're going to breathe more shallow. You're going to behave in all the ways that you learn, because I know you learn these things in school, because this is all evidence. This is all evidence of the body in a stressed out state. Everything that you do when you approach the body, all of your analysis, when you're looking for the fixations and the distortions and the tension and the compression and all the different patterns you're looking for and the segments to not move freely, what is the impact that that has on the human being? Not just on the body. You can make it bigger than that. You can make it something where it's no longer just tissue that seems uncomfortable, but rather an actual interference with this mother and her ability to be present with her child, or this coworker and their ability to not be stressed out with their other coworker. You can literally shift and change and radically impact people's lives by knowing the depth of what you do and by listening to that depth. That depth comes from acknowledging that every single person you're working with is not just a spine. What's up, Dr. Lance? Is not just a spine, but is also a human being. Is not just a body, is not just a bag of meat and muscle and neurology, but it's a human being inside there as well. And when you go to do that adjustment and you open up your heart space and you connect to something that's bigger, it's the same thing as giving someone a hug and thinking about something else, just like a quick little pat on the back. And it's like, it's just a whatever hug, right? That's going to be more like a manipulation. Sure, I can make it pop, but if I'm not present with you, we're just going to release a joint. Or when you hug someone and you embrace them and you're present with them and you breathe with them and you feel them, and maybe there's a smile, maybe there's a cry, there's some sort of emotional change. Why is there an emotional change? Because emotions are energy in motion. And so when you can learn to take something as simple that you have all done your entire life as hugging someone with an embrace and putting your heart and your soul and your love into that, and then saying, I get to hug people with my hands all day long. You take the doingness of what you do, the mechanism of what you do, the artistry of what you do, and you add layers and layers and layers of value. And so this can start to feel potentially a little out there, a little woo-woo, right? These concepts are like, okay, there's not evidence to back this up. We're talking about like concepts, so we're talking about stuff that I can't like reproduce and do like in a science experiment. And so I've been taught that if I can't do it in a science experiment and it can't be reproduced, then it's not valid. But here's something that's reproduced in every single science experiment for every single medicine that exists on the planet. And it's called the placebo effect. We are the doctors of change. We are the doctors of healing. We are the doctors of health. What we do and our entire philosophy, our entire principle backing what we do and why we do it is different than the medical paradigm, because our reasoning is derived from a body is intelligent and it's able to heal, and it heals best when there's no interference. It heals best when it's in the ideal tension state. It heals best whenever it's free of excess stress. And that is all scientifically based. And then adding the juiciness into it is where you take a job and you make it a lifestyle. Dr. Lance and I, we love what we do. And sure, there's days in the practice that are challenging, and there's parts of our jobs that that are more difficult. But I'll tell you, the relationship that we get to build with each and every person that we take care of is more than a doctor-patient relationship. It's a human being relationship. Our people, they cry with us, they laugh with us, they share some of their deepest, darkest secrets. They feel vulnerable with us. And what that allows for is more change on the energetic system that is their body. I want to bring Dr. Lance in here. I think this is a good time for him to add in a bit more grounding because I know I go up here quite a bit and talk about these fun ideas and open the heart space and get your third eye thinking.
Hey,
Dr. Lance.
Dr. Lance, nice to see you there. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, my name is Lance. Nice to meet you. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be with you this morning and or your evening, and for Dylan taking the lead. This is a subject for me. The title came out as like, explaining miracles. For me, the thought flash I had in advance of this talk was the mechanism of miracles. And I spend my life trying to demystify what most people think can only be chalked up to a God up in the sky somewhere. And I think there's a large amount of trust that goes there. Dylan earlier was saying, oh, God, spirit, all kinds of other words. For me, it's nature. Just nature explains it to me. That was what I was raised on. My parents told me I was an atheist and that nature was responsible for everything. And some people, it's science. Science is also something people just put their entire faith into and will live their lives in accordance with that. But whatever the belief system is that's guiding how we make our decisions, I try to explain things in 3 different ways to reach a broader audience. And I have a very dynamic broad range of people's perspectives who I serve in practice. And I also am what I consider to be an open-minded skeptic. So I'm always trying to explore new ideas that at first may seem crazy to me, and also justify their existence because humans invented them, and then scientists either validate them or discredit them. And then I have to prove to myself that I'm going to make changes in my life based on these ideas that I've come across. And that constant battle of testing hypotheses and then trying to leave breadcrumbs. So it's not just in my mind that I've learned this and I've allowed it to influence me, but I can carry it through me and start teaching others so that they can understand why I approach the world the way I do. I'm not one to dogmatically just sign in for 33 principles because some guy in the 40s or whenever he wrote them down ended up saying this was the thing. For me, I need to test every single one every day of my life. And if it ever breaks down, it's not a principle. And so why I'm enthusiastic is I haven't been able to break them down yet, other than into their constituent parts of which they've validated deeper and deeper layers of myself. And every time I have an aha moment, a layer of my tension is released, because now I have a little more trust in the process. And that allows me to just sit in safety and comfort, knowing that I'm doing work that really matters, that it is influencing people. And what I want to share today is basically the 3 layers of the influence we have just with physical touch. Even if you just think about the popping joint that Dylan mentioned, you cannot remove all that is happening and all that is connected to that. It has always been there, will always be there. It's just what seems like a miracle is anything that is happening that is beyond 10% outside of our comfort zone of comprehension. If something is happening that is more than 10% outside of our ability to reach and still feel like our reality is safe, we will call it a miracle, or we'll call it bullshit. That is in alignment with our risk tolerance. For those that have a high risk tolerance, they'll say that's miraculous. It might happen again. For those that have a low risk tolerance, they'll say that's bullshit. I'm not even going to look into that. And so that's the 2 ends of the world that we deal with, is people who are very secure and safe and dogmatic in one way, and others that are so just free and open to new that they're dogmatic in a completely different direction. Like everything that's new is amazing and we should all do everything new every time it comes around. And others that are like anything new is scary and hasn't been proven with double-blind placebo studies and then printed into textbooks and then delivered 10 years later to schools and then taught to those people who become professionals, and now they're delivering care in alignment with evidence 15 years after it was actually shown. By then, new science has become new and it's scary, so let's wait for it. So that's the process. For me, tone is the guiding principle. We can say the major premise, but in me, what I'm looking for in my practice is tone, which is just residual tension. Tone and tension are the same thing. So when you have tone, that is the tension that is inherently built into the system. So I am measuring this, let's say we have 100 units of tone in an entire body. I'm seeing, is that 100 units distributed evenly among the entire system, or is the lower half of this system carrying 80 units of tension and the upper half only has 20? Are they carrying 90% of their tension here and everything else is just completely unstable and trying to do all the motion, but they're stuck in this position? If we can, through breath, through impulses to the spine, through guidance, exercise, recommendations about eating, moving, thinking, recuperating, communicating themselves, can we help them access more of that stuck tension to release the energy into the system, where they can then reorganize how they've tuned their physical structure so that they can more accurately perceive their environment and then more accurately make movement, thought, expressive, emotional decisions to engage with their environment to get their needs met. So from a physical standpoint, biggest picture, we're balancing tension in the body to reach what's called the ideal tension state. A structure like this, known as a tensegrity structure, is these guy wires or flexible bungees that are attached to these solid structures in our body called bones. None of these bones are actually touching each other. They are all held together by tension. And because of that, they are very flexible, resilient, meaning they can weather trauma and stress and bounce back. And it's adaptable, meaning if I shorten just one of these, the entire shape will change, like the tree growing around a telephone pole, like the human getting really good at their athletic stance of high performance tech work. This is the adaptable structure. As a chiropractor, the goal is to find them like this, release them back to here, and send them back into their life to be able to perceive how they feel, what they need in their life, and to be able to do the thing they love. If there's an obstacle, they will build tension into the system. They come back, we release it, send them back out. I want to share my screen to show you how I analyze tone on the macro scale. Host disabled. Can someone enable a host action? Por favor. S'il vous plaît.
You can now do it. You can share your screen right now.
Cool. Let me see if I can jump in. Share. So there is a concept. I'll just share my whole screen. Cool. Can you see? Thumbs up? Great.
Yep.
So this is from the book called Anatomy Trains. This is the concept of myofascial meridians or myofascial lines. And when I analyze the tension that someone carries in their calf, I will check their heel cord tension or their Achilles tension in order to read their entire body, because I can pull on the heel, but that chain goes all the way up the tibialis posterior to the popliteus to the adductor group. It spirals around into the adductor group, up into the iliopsoas, all the way into the diaphragm, which is very important because then your breath connects into that entire deep front line chain. So tight calves can be related to breath. Tight neck muscles, because this goes under the rib cage, up the anterior longitudinal ligament, all the way into the neck. So the deep front line is laid out in all of these pinpoints. Everything on the left is a bone, a hard structure. Everything on the right is the muscle or the guy wire, the flexible motor that is pulling and tuned by the nervous system to best prepare the body to adapt to the current stressors and prepare for what may become a stressor based on past experiences, both nature and nurture. We're predetermined with our genes based on all the genetics that have come through the ancestral line. And our nature is learning through our integration pathways in our thalamus about what is happening in our life and how we should best carry our attention to prepare. If we've been traumatized and have experienced a lot of violence, we'll probably be mostly fight or flight like this. If we've had a very loving relationship and we trust a lot of humans are good, our shoulders will be dropped, our brow will be softened. We'll sit like this and be like, really cool, man, chill, you know? So our body tunes ourselves to our nature. So this concept is important for us to recognize as we go through. If you haven't seen the book, I recommend checking it out. It should be in your library. If it's not, then I'd recommend telling them to order it so that you have a copy and just buy it. I've read the entire book like 11 times because I teach most of my material from its chapter 1 only. So these lines go through the body. And then just to show you again that there's multiple chains. I think there's 12 lines throughout the body, but the posterior chain, the lateral lines, the spiral chains, the athletic power driving functional lines, which we train a lot in actual adjusting or providing impulses. We want to build expansiveness and integration in these, and then promote production of force through these chains. And if we do that, our forces are effective and also sustainable because they're being distributed into all of these chains instead of overworking one chain. So conceptually, these chains are important to understand. And if you guys have questions, I'm happy to dive deeper into it. Let me remove my sharing now. I want to unshare. One moment. It's funny, you guys get to watch me struggle with this. Okay, anyway. End the meeting.
Oh. You got
Yeah,
perfect.
Cool. Okay.
Nice.
So that's from the macro scale. the big picture chains of how tension is distributed. If you think about guitar strings are strung along the entire guitar from top to bottom, and you can tune using the tuning peg at the top to alter the tension or tone of that one string. The body is using its brain up top to determine sensory input from the entire body using proprioception and interoception inward to determine what sense of tension should I carry based on all the information I'm gathering. So the chains are the instrumental tuning strings of the instrument. Now, diving deeper, that fascial connection, all the fascia on the superficial also penetrates. So it goes from the outside all the way into our deep lines, all the way into our cells. And this, to me, it blew my entire paradigm open when I realized the influence that we have by simply touching someone's body, because it's not just the muscle that changes tone. It's not just the joint that gets improved range of motion. It's not just the human that moves a little more comfortably and maybe expresses themselves emotionally better consciously. We touch someone and influence their ability for their genes to express themselves. So again, dive into this work. It's called mechanotransduction. And the experiment that I saw that changed everything with how I approach chiropractic was labeled in the cover article of Scientific American in 1999. So the previous century, this work is not new. This work has been shown to be valid since the last century. Donald Ingber, he's on YouTube, and I like, from a wordsmith perspective, the guy describes this so brilliantly. He and his group did an experiment where they took stem cell samples. They took 3 stem cells and they put them on individual plates. Then they altered the tension of these cells using adhesive islands and things that to try to describe easily would be difficult. But basically they could change the shape of the cell. When the cell's shape changed, there was different behavior. Even though they took the stem cell sample from the same sample, these were 3 identical cells. The words ideal tension state comes from this study and the results that they found. One cell they put on a tiny little island. And so when they dropped the cell onto the island, it did not open up or spread. It sat very tall, like a golf ball on a tee, like this. Now, the second one, they had a bigger island. So that one, because gravity is on it and a cell in isolation uses actin myofilaments to reach into its environment and pull itself out wide. This is used like in tissue healing. Our cells will try to spread out. Hi, come on. So in the middle zone, the cell did reach out and it started to compress kind of into this like muffin shape. Then the third cell had a much larger island, and so it spread out into its environment, and it ended up becoming very flat, and it was like a pancake. That alone was like, whoa, like this cell will change shape based on the size of the area you give it to expand. But the aha moment was that the golf ball that was behaving, according to the article, was behaving as if there was too much tissue around it and it was being compressed in all directions, committed cellular suicide. The cell that was very flat like a pancake was behaving as if there was not enough tissue around it and it was spreading into its environment to take up more space. And this cell replicated itself. Identical cells changing shape, having a different tone and tension pattern, behaving completely different. One commits suicide and one replicates itself. And then the middle found what's called the ideal tension state, the muffin, where it's balance of tension and compression, and the cell differentiated into a functional cell, which means it did what it was designed to do. When we find the ideal tension state, a cell will function the way it was designed to function. So if the stem cell sample was an enterocytes, small intestine cells, then it would differentiate into a small intestine cell, an enterocyte, and it would secrete enzymes. If it was muscle tissue, that they got the stem cell from, this would become a myocyte, and it would actually start to contract and have contractile fibers. But if it had too much compression, it would just commit cellular suicide, which you'll see on anterior head carriage when the lower cervical spine has too much compression in the front and the chondrocytes commit cellular suicide. And then the new tension compression pattern, it doesn't birth new chondrocytes, it births osteocytes because the tension in that area has changed. That same person who has too much compression in the front has too much tension in the back because their head is falling forwards. That's pulling tension. So what happens back here? More replication of cells. You get the buffalo hump, you get that layers of connective tissue because the connective tissue has started to replicate itself to create more cells. This behavior is what you find throughout the entire body. When we look at a human system, we are ourselves as healthy as our cells. When the tension and tone of our cells is balanced and in the ideal tension state, that adds up to a human body in the ideal tension state. So we analyze an entire system for where the tension is too much, where the compression is too much, and then we use the impulses that we give, which is to me not the adjustment. We give impulses to release energy so that the brain can now perceive from a sensory experience and then make motor pattern determinations about what the best use of that energy is to retune the body to its ideal tension state so that the human can develop and differentiate into the person that they're meant to be. When we carry within us tension that we don't have access to, we do not have access to all the information from within us. It robs us of our ability to perceive with accuracy what's happening around us, and it limits our ability to make the best decisions to get our needs met and to contribute to the world around us. So our job as chiropractors is to analyze the tone, which is the tension of the body, to release the areas of stuck energy, and then help that person expand that energy throughout the system to achieve the ideal tension state, and then hold space for that self-healing, self-regulating organism to perceive what's needed and to act accordingly. And that's it, folks.
Wow, man, that was powerful. Really, that blew our mind. Really
awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, every day in practice, it just continues to show up like that.
It's amazing to hear that you've got kind of the same philosophy as Dylan, but then you put it in such different words, but it makes sense, and it kind of makes you think, and it's so interesting to hear. It's really, really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to move my laptop because my team is showing up. We're going to be seeing patients pretty soon. I'm just going to get out of their way, but I'm still with you.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's part of the key here is to understand that the principles of chiropractic, the principles of life, the more you understand them, the more you will see them show up in the ways that you learn, in the way that you communicate best. Lance's background is extremely science and evidence-based, and I've learned so much from him. My background is a bit more spiritually based. I have a very low need. Lance, how did you word it? A low need for, I go with miracle rather than bullshit. I see something that happens that's new and I'm like, yep, totally possible. It can happen again. Like if I see it and experience it once, that's good enough for me. I'm very far on that pendulum, and I learn every time you talk, man. That was good.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions that are coming up on these concepts?
Yeah, let's switch to questions, man. We thought of a question that really resonated with us was you both obviously know Brett Jones, and we wanted to know what is it like to work with such an individual, and like he's to us he's very how could we call it, like
Tall,
inspirational in a way, and overwhelming. And how is it like to work with this type of individual, if that makes sense?
You can go first.
Y'all, he's a human being. Lance will tell you the same thing. He's a human being. You are just as magical as Brett Jones. Brett Jones is just as magical as you. He would tell you that exact same thing. And working side by side with him, you realize more of your own power because Brett's a human being, and so are you.
Yeah, don't tell any of his Instagram followers, but he is human. It's true. That dude is a brother to me, like with all the joy, pleasure, love, and pain that a family member can bring into your life. And I feel so grateful to have been able to grow alongside him, because I've gotten to see what it takes on the back end to be able to express what he expresses, and to know his intentions and his background, and what's been amazing and fortune and luck, and what's been literal grinding and sacrifice. And anybody can do it. It just comes with a cost. Most people spend their lives, and I know for a fact that Brett invests his life. And so over time, he gets compounding returns on the ways he's spent and invested his time, his energy, his relationships, his skill sets, his experience. And he positions himself in a way that he's constantly teaching what he learns. So he only grows with every even mistake that he makes. It makes him better. So I'm grateful for having an influence like that in my life.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
man.
for the reply. And I guess we're all really, fortunate to have mentors in our lives. And I wanted to ask a question regarding mentors. How do you stay yourself while you're following a mentor? Because most of us that are listening now are students, and I think and I hope that some of us do have some mentors. But how do you guys have any advice on how to stay true to yourself and to not get lost in wanting to be the same as your mentor, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I can start this one. For me, there's 3 layers of mentorship. For me, there's heroes, mentors, and coaches. Heroes are people you've never met that don't know who you are, but they're just doing something that's inspiring to you, and you want to emulate them to create what they've created or cause a change that they've been able to cause. I have an unbelievable amount of heroes that I have taken little bits from. I don't want to be them because I usually see that there's a sacrifice. They achieve greatness according to some measure, but they've lost something along the way that I wouldn't be willing to lose. Mentors are people that do know me and love me and care for me and want me to succeed, regardless of any attachment to anything in return. It's just abundant giving, and I love receiving from them, and I tend to want to reciprocate in some way. Often they are people who have already done it. They're already where they want to be. And so now they just want to help others ascend the ladder of fulfillment and success. Then you have coaches. If you don't have heroes, look on YouTube. They're everywhere. If you don't have mentors, then you may need to buy a mentor, which is a coach. Someone who knows more than you. They don't have to have it all figured out, but someone that you pay to ask you questions that you would be able to answer more easily than if you asked yourself, and then to hold you accountable to work toward goals. And they can help you with strategies. They co-create an experience. I come from sports performance and sports medicine. As a coach, the athlete's doing the work, but the coach is there to show up on time. If they don't show up on time, hold them accountable, design the workout, design the obstacles that they need to overcome in order to move forward, and then to be measuring them and their progress toward the goals. And the higher you get, I think the more important it is that we get coaches, because we will naturally ascend to our current level of skill set based on the 5 people we spent the most time with, based on the YouTube videos that we've watched, the learnings that we've made, but we can only know so much. And if we don't change our influences, then we bottleneck ourselves. And so that's where I love heroes, and I'm so appreciative of my mentors, and I will also pay for coaching to make sure that I'm growing, to hold myself accountable.
For me, the only thing that I would add to that's a beautiful way to kind of have those different categories. What I would also add to that, with any of which, is to pay attention to whether or not you're receiving inspiration or motivation. motivation is going to be very fleeting, and motivation, you're going to constantly be pulling from someone else and energy from the outside in to give it to you. This is why we can be motivated for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but it kind of always runs out and you get burnt or burnt out. Inspiration comes from the inside out. And this can come from mentors, it can come from heroes, or it can come from coaches. It can come from going on a run and come from yourself. But since we're talking about mentors and receiving from other, to be receiving it in a sense of what's inspiring you. And so how do I do this? I do this in the sense of, I spent 2 years working side by side with Dr. Brett, and Dr. Brett and I have a lot of similar tendencies. And I also don't want to be another version of someone else. I want to be myself. And so what I would do is when I would see things or experience things that felt like something that felt inside of me, that it was building my energy, that it made me want to do more. It made me not feel tired. It made me just kind of want to go into it. It made me feel inspired. I think that most of us on this call, if not all of us, have been inspired once or twice. And so what inspiration feels like. And when you get that and you don't need it to constantly keep coming from that mentor, now it's coming from within you. It's much more sustainable because inspiration, when it comes from within, it's a sign that you are connected to your spirit. To be inspired is to be in spirit. And so I like to always make sure that I'm being inspired by my mentors and by all the people around me, rather than just be motivated by them, because I know that one's going to be much more sustainable.
And just to break down the typical, what people imagine with a mentorship, my children are my biggest mentors. They are the most connected to the forces of nature naturally expressing themselves through a human body. The closer you are to birth, the closer you are to being an authentic expression of nature. So having people who have gone through the knowledge pathway and know more than me can teach me. And I also remember to hold space for my children and how they naturally engage with their environment and be like, wow, that's what nature does through humans. And then the process of life denatures us.
Dr. Lance, how are you on time? What time do you need to be off of here?
I have 14 seconds and then I have to leave. So yeah.
So what we can do is if Dr. Lance wants to share like some closing thoughts, and then I can carry on for a few more questions. I've got a little bit longer, but let me close this out.
Today. Sounds good to me.
Amazing.
Yeah, my only closing thoughts is that trust is the resource that's most important in our lives. When we trust ourselves, tension melts away. When our practice members trust us, their tension melts away. When we trust that we are on a path worth living, causing a change that's worth contributing to, clarity comes into our mind and life is very enjoyable. So work on the strategies of building trust. See a chiropractor yourself on a regular basis, because if you're not doing it, why should anybody else? And ask the hard questions, find heroes, mentors, hire coaches, and reach out to us if you have any more questions.
Just before you leave, I made you the host. Could you make me the host back? Because if you leave, the thing is going to go shut off. So that would be the thing.
And we would like to thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Lance. Thank you for taking your time. Really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing everything. Wish you a great day of serving chiropractic. And if everyone has questions for Lance, maybe you can drop in your DMs on Instagram or.
Yeah, there you go. There's my hand up. You can have it.
Amazing. And then we can continue the Q&A with Dr. Dylan. Donc, si vous avez des questions pour Dylan, vous pouvez demander. If you guys have questions, go ahead.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. Have a great day.
See you
Thank you
soon.
so much. All right.
Any questions?
Yep.
We've got plenty.
We got a shit ton of questions, but actually, anybody?
Go for it, Luca.
All right. So when you talk about sustaining your energy level throughout the day, being a chiropractor, it can be hard on yourself. I wanted to know how do you stay grounded and you stay yourself while maintaining a high level of focus and basically giving all you got every day?
Yeah. For me, it's all about being in alignment. When what I've noticed is a lot of society, a lot of life, a lot of culture says the only way that you get your batteries refilled or recharge on energy is through rest. I disagree with that. I slept about 4 or 5 hours a night all through chiropractic school because I was getting up training in the morning and I was staying up late talking philosophy and cramming for tests, and I had a long distance relationship and I was traveling a lot. But I had endless energy. Right now, this is a perfect example. 2 months ago, I'm in the process of opening a practice. We're launching on Monday. And 2 months ago, we still didn't have a space and we had nothing to do. We were idle. We were, we weren't doing our build out. We were just waiting. We were just trying to find a space and a landlord, and there was not much on the agenda every day. I was exhausted. I had low energy. I was not motivated. I started getting depressed. I started feeling anxiety. There was a lot of uncomfortable things that I was experiencing. This week, we're in our last week before we open. Every single day, I'm leaving the house before 8 a.m. Every single day, other than today, coming back to do this video because I don't have Wi-Fi in the new space yet. I was going to go live from the new space. Every single day this week, so my day starts, I wake up, I go serve people in my current little practice. I'm renting a private room. I do that until somewhere between like 10 and 1. When I'm done serving the people, then I go to our new practice and we paint until 9, 10 o'clock, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I get home and I'm wired. I am inspired. I'm full of energy. I'm like, we're eating dinner at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And like, I feel good. My energy's up. I'm doing more, feeling better. So what is that, right? I like to always zoom out and pay attention to what's happening in my life, pay attention to what I'm feeling in my life, to just like this is the concept of conscious living. It's just awareness. Awareness is conscious living. And what the awareness has brought to me is, it's not about all the things I'm doing. It's not about the number of people I'm seeing. It's not about the amount of things on my plate. It's about, am I in alignment with them or not? And so there's certain things that build my energy and there's certain things that deplete my energy. If you haven't heard of human design, I'm a huge fan of this concept called human design. Oh, you guys like it. So I'm a generator. And this summer I had nothing to generate. And so it was hard on me and I didn't have things to do. Now that I have things to do, I'm living in alignment. I'm able to generate. My energy is higher than it's ever been. And I'm now getting less sleep than I was 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I could sleep in as long as I want, but I would wake up and I'd be tired and I'd be groggy. Now it's like, get your ass out of bed. We got people to see. We got walls to paint. So it's all alignment for me. And how do you know if you're in alignment or if you're not in alignment? Your thoughts. When you're practicing, and so let's bring it back to chiropractic. If you're practicing or doing things and it's not inspiring you, what did I just say about inspiration? To be inspired is to be in spirit. To be uninspired is to be not in spirit. When you're in spirit, you're in endless energy because spirit is energy. So if you want endless, abundant energy, then try to be inspired. And if you want to be inspired, then do things and live a life that make you inspired. If it's inspiring to see someone that wakes up and goes for a walk and enjoys the sunrise, go fucking do that. Don't watch someone else do it and then get it on your Instagram. Go do it. You will have more energy by having less sleep because that's inspiring you. If you see chiropractors that are practicing a certain way, whether your school says you can or can't, do it. Let it inspire you. When you feel things in your body that are breaking you down, that are out of alignment, that you feel there's a lot of friction with, more friction is gonna deplete your energy more. And that doesn't mean to just make life easy. There's nothing easy about painting our space right now. It's hard work. It doesn't mean that it needs to be easy or that it all needs to be, butterflies and rainbows. It's work, it's effort, but effort in alignment will breed more energy. Effort out of alignment will drain you.
Man, speechless right now.
Speechless.
It's fun. It's it's being in alignment, having you on right now, and I can't stress enough the fact that it's been great having you on right now. Really, we have nothing but gratitude and love for you and all the Kairos community.
I receive that. I feel
that
it.
brings
Thank you,
another
guys.
question, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
When are you planning to come to France?
When do you guys want me there?
Tomorrow.
I sent a message to Andrew Vanham.
Okay.
Now the issue is due to COVID, everybody has to get vaccinated.
Okay.
So he had, if he would come, he would have like 1 week of quarantine or whatever. So maybe we could do something in Barcelona in Spain, whatever. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to come teach in person in Europe. If this is a crew that would like to help put something like that together, I love traveling. I love flying. I haven't been to Europe yet. I just definitely won't get a vaccine. But if we can find a way around it, then I'm down.
Man, we'll keep in touch, and I think that we got a nice bunch of people that are willing to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
We're really motivated, and we would do anything to make you guys come here. So knowing that you want to come here, that's really nice to hear for us. And man, thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Guys, it's been a pleasure for me to be able to come on and teach with you guys. I hope that you guys got inspired. I hope that you guys kind of heard a couple things. Does anyone want to share like a takeaway? I got a couple people that are still on here. Does anyone want to share like what was big for them? I don't care if you say it in French, somebody can translate.
Yep. Si vous voulez partager avec Dylan quelque chose qui vous a marqué ou une phrase, ou vous pouvez lui dire voilà, pour un petit retour.
Moi, j'ai bien aimé. I really, really liked emotions is energy in motion.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it down big fat letters, and I was like, oh man, this guy is preaching. Really, really cool. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
That was fun, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
If you guys want any good books to read to kind of open you up to more of the principle, more of the philosophy, the book 33 is a good one. It's on the 33 principles.
David Silver, is that right?
Chiropractic Revealed is it's a book that just goes through a series of interviews with great chiropractors, chiropractic giants that have gone before us. A lot of my I guess they're heroes. I've always called them mentors, but that reframing from Lance is nice. So I guess a lot of my heroes are in there. And what's nice about it is you can jump anywhere in the book and just read the interview. Those I'll just give you two. Those are two great books. Chiropractic Revealed, much easier read. It's like coffee table read. 33, you're going to go deep. And then that other book that Lance shared, Anatomy Trains.
Yes.
Anatomy Trains is the #1 scientific textbook for any and every chiropractor. It'll help you communicate what you do better. It'll help you understand what you do better. It'll help you approach the body entirely differently with feeling into different things, into recognizing, oh, when I tug on this, I can feel it catch up there. My last piece of advice is just every single time that you work with someone, be curious. Be curious. Don't get too stuck in your head that you're looking for the stuck joint or you're looking for the PLI or whatever. Instead, get curious about what you're feeling and what might be causing it. Because when you get curious, you start to open up what's possible to come up. And when you get curious, suddenly that'll be when you place your hand on someone's upper thoracics. And because you're curious, you're not thinking about if it's stuck. You're not thinking about what the listing is. You're not thinking about where the nerves go to what organs. You're not thinking about any of it. You're just kind of like, oh, what's this? And you're curious and you listen and you get present and you get still. That's when you can start to feel the energy in motion, when you can start to feel the emotions. And I tell you, if you start to slow down and you start to get curious, and you start to allow yourself to provide the space for someone to transform, rather than just providing the space for someone to get adjusted, if you make it bigger than that, you can put your hands on someone and they can feel seen for the first time ever. And that can allow a lot of energy to move, and it can allow for a lot of healing to happen. Most people are holding on to things out of protection. And when you can create a space that is super safe, when you can create a space where you're just curious about the person you're working with, where you create, where you communicate love, where you communicate curiosity, it's almost like going on a date with someone, right? You know, you want to be curious about them because you want to get to know them. Same thing when you're working with someone. You want to get curious about their body, about their mind, about their spirit, about their energy, because you want them to feel safe to allow themselves to be vulnerable. Because when they can become vulnerable, then those spots in their body that their innate intelligence have been holding on to will reveal themselves for you to release it. And then when you release that stuck energy, you allow them to move forward, walking more in alignment with their ideal self.
Wow.
Microcosm, macrocosm, what you're doing is changing lives. You're not just moving bones.
Exactly. The bigger picture. That's another big takeaway. Bigger picture. Think big.
Think big.
So yeah, let's call it today. Thank you so much, Dr. Dylan. Thank
You're very
you
welcome.
everybody that spent this last hour or so with us. And yeah, we'll send you the replay, of course. You have the recording. And nothing but love. And we'll keep in touch, man.
All right, much love to you guys. I look forward to meeting in person someday.
Yeah,
for sure.
Let's make it happen.
Maybe we can set something up for 2022.
Let's get it
Let's do
going.
this, man.
I'm down. You let me know.
Cool.
Yep.
Stay in touch.
All right.
Thank you.
See you.
See
Bye,
you soon.
everybody.
Merci tout le monde.
Merci beaucoup.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bisous. À bientôt.
The innate in me blesses the innate in you. Peace.